Today's podcast is exciting. You just have to understand why. When you learn AI Reasonology to gain, get this, AI reason ability in your life, in your love, and in your community. Hi, I'm Mike Hayes. For decades, I've sat across icons like Oprah Winfrey, Steve Jobs, to capture the high-fidelity logic of their success. Today, we are just archiving that kind of wisdom. We're actually supercharging it. You're going to learn how. So welcome to the SeniorAIPodcast.com. Here, we don't ask you to code. We don't ask you to engineer complex, scary prompts. We only ask you to do one simple thing. Think and grow enriched. We're bridging the gap between world-class human expertise and the nuclear power of expert-enriched AI. Think about that. So whether you're a leader looking to scale your legacy or a learner ready to thrive, our weekly free AI Bloomer Networking Bootcamps is your gateway to learning. Join us as we connect experts to the $73 trillion senior market. Seniors control over 70%, about 70% of the U.S. economy. Think about that. So many technologists are just sitting on the sidelines, focusing and missing on AI and missing that entire market. So join us, Senior AI Podcast listening at any age, to start your enrichment today. Because the future isn't just automated, it's expert enriched when it becomes AI podcast listening to experts and explainers. Listen to my AI co-host to explain.
Today, we're digging into a really cool new movement in AI called AI Reasonology. This one, quote, really sets up two totally different futures for AI and for us. So, how do we make sure AI helps us instead of just replacing us? Well, the answer could be something called Expert-Enriched AI. Let's break that down. See, it's not about complicated code. It's about teaching AI how to think better. Experts are being invited to join in through a pretty simple giver's gain offer. The process is super straightforward. You give your expertise, and you get visibility back. So you share your unique knowledge, and in return, you get some serious professional exposure. The idea is there's no real downside. It's just a classic win-win situation for everyone. But it's about more than just benefits. It's about leaving your mark on AI's future. It means your logic could be right there, alongside icons like Oprah and Steve Jobs. And this all comes down to one core idea. Human expertise is something a machine can't copy. And when you share that expertise, it basically becomes a career cheat code for everyone else. The ultimate goal here? To create a human wisdom cheat sheet from all these insights. Which leaves us with this final thought. Is human wisdom the real cheat code for AI's future?
We're all facing this defining question right now, aren't we? It seems to come up everywhere, in boardrooms, coding sprints, even, over dinner.
Oh, absolutely. It's the question.
Is artificial intelligence going to ultimately replace human thought? Is it going to slowly but surely just make our unique expertise obsolete?
Or, and this is the other side of the coin, is it something we can actually leverage?
A turbocharger.
Right.
Something that makes us and our thinking exponentially better. It's a really profound dilemma.
It is. And if you look at the landscape, the dominant paradigm right now is pretty clear.
It's all replacement. I mean, the conversations you hear, the apps you download, the venture capital, it all seems to lean toward replacement. They want AI to do the thinking for you.
That's it, exactly. The underlying assumption in the vast majority of the current AI ecosystem is process automation.
Right.
Automate the analysis, generate the summary, and basically replace the human need for that deep iterative thought. It's about efficiency through cognitive outsourcing.
But the material we're diving into today, this movement that's centered around something called AI Reasonology, it takes a dramatically different stand, and frankly, a much more ambitious one.
Mm-hmm.
They state it so clearly right at the top. Most people are using AI to replace thinking. We are using it to amplify it.
And that one phrase is our entire launching pad for today.
Yeah.
Because it completely changes the relationship between the expert and the machine.
It does.
So our mission for this deep dive, it's really custom tailored for you, the listener, the learner who wants that knowledge acceleration, not just information overload.
We're going to be extracting the core nuggets from these documents. We're laying out the complete philosophy, the benefits, and the underlying methodology of what they call expert-enriched AI.
Right.
Our goal is to really deeply understand this reasonology revolution.
Yeah.
Specifically, we need to pinpoint exactly how unique human wisdom, that tacit earned intuition, becomes the secret sauce in this equation.
And what the benefits are, the actual practical benefits for the experts who contribute that wisdom.
We're peeling back the curtain on how they intend to fuse this specialized AI with high-fidelity human insight. So let's not waste any time.
Let's jump in.
Let's get straight into defining this core concept of expert-enriched intelligence.
Okay, so at its conceptual heart, the Reasonology Project is a very deliberate fusion. It's targeted human wisdom and specialized AI structures.
So not just scraping the whole internet.
No, not at all. This isn't about vacuuming up data from the general internet and, just hoping to the best. It's about enriching an existing intelligence specifically with highly structured, high-value human expertise.
And the authors, they frame it as more than just a tech project.
Oh, much more. They describe it as an explicit invitation to intellectual leadership. It's a call to lead the AI reasonability movement.
And that framing, that's everything, isn't it? Moving the expert from just being a passive data provider to being an active intellectual architect.
It is absolutely crucial.
It signals that this AI isn't some general purpose vacuum designed to, replace jobs.
Right.
It's an engine designed specifically to take sophisticated, nuanced human input and just turbocharge its effectiveness. The user's role is retained, but it's elevated.
Precisely. Think about it. If AI were purely about replacement, the human input would be minimized, right? Standardized.
You'd want to get the human out of the loop as much as possible.
But if it's about amplification, then the human input has to be maximized in quality and in strategic intent.
Mm-hmm.
The entire system is built to honor and then leverage that human sophistication.
Okay, so let's unpack that core differentiator first. The whole ethos of this movement hinges on that one idea. Amplification, not replacement.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at typical AI use cases today, I'm thinking summarizing a document, writing a basic email, they are all replacement tasks. So why is making that distinction, amplification versus replacement, why is that so critically important right now, especially for someone who wants, genuine knowledge acceleration?
It's important because it fundamentally shifts the locus of control and value. When you use AI for replacement, say, asking it to write an entire report without your input, you're outsourcing your cognitive function.
Okay.
And that's often efficient, sure, but over time, it leads to what you could call, cognitive atrophy. The muscle of critical synthesis and complex reasoning starts to degrade because it's not being exercised.
It's the difference between using a calculator to check your math and using a calculator because you've totally forgotten how to do long division.
That is the perfect analogy. Exactly. Now, consider amplification. If you use AI for amplification, you retain ownership of the problem.
Right.
You use the AI as a high-powered lens or a vast synthesizer, maybe a sounding board, for your existing well-developed thoughts. You're providing the expert framework. The AI is just executing the calculations or scaling the reach of that framework.
So for the learner, the acceleration doesn't come from getting a simple consensus answer.
No. It comes from learning how the smartest people in the room frame those complex problems, how they structure their analysis, and this is the most important part, how they identify the high-leverage points of inquiry.
So instead of me asking, hey, AI, what do you think about this topic? I should be asking, how can this AI make my already advanced thinking on this topic, 10 times clearer or faster or more applicable?
Yes. You're using the tool to sharpen the blade you already possess.
Making sure the human, the one who brings the wisdom, stays firmly in charge of the intent.
And the documents really emphasize that this expert-enriched AI is the mechanism for that fusion. For turning that tacit intuitive knowledge, the kind you get over 20 years of high-stakes work, into codified, actionable intelligence.
It's all built on the premise that the quality of the input determines the magnitude of the amplified output.
Right. It's not about data volume. It's about the velocity
Yeah.
and the veracity of expert thinking.
Which brings us directly to this key concept, this
Yeah.
pillar they call expert DNA. That phrasing is so evocative.
It is.
It makes the contributor's unique knowledge sound like a physical, essential, and irreplaceable component. So let's analyze that term. Why isn't it just valuable information? Why specifically expert DNA?
I think the use of the word DNA suggests something inherent, something foundational and highly specific, like a biological blueprint.
Okay.
Standard large language models are, well, they're excellent at providing general consensus knowledge, the median perspective, right? The widely accepted facts.
The stuff anyone could look up.
Exactly. But true expertise, that often lies in the outliers, the counterintuitive moves, the pattern recognition you glean from thousands of hours of failure, the subtle, high-stakes decisions that algorithms trained on average data will miss completely.
So if a standard LLM is like the encyclopedia of common knowledge, then expert DNA is the proprietary playbook of a specific industry titan.
Precisely. This DNA is the synthesis of lived professional experience. It determines how a specific, novel problem should be approached, not just what the likely solution might be if you just follow the consensus.
So it's the framework, the priorities, the ethical or strategic stuff that defines their unique contribution.
Yes, the underlying structure, not just the surface-level facts.
And crucially, the sources specify that this wisdom, this DNA, is primarily captured through high-fidelity human questions. Now, this is a fascinating twist.
It really is.
We usually think of experts sharing wisdom through statements, rules, dictums. So why are questions specifically the key contribution here? How do they capture wisdom better than a long essay?
This is, I think, a point of deep insight in the Reasonology model. Statements confirm what an expert already knows, and a high-fidelity question that reveals the architecture of their mind.
The architecture of their mind. I like that.
When an expert asks a precise, insightful question, they are defining the boundaries of the problem space, they're exposing underlying assumptions, and they're driving the necessary synthesis.
Okay, give us a concrete example, something a listener can really grab onto. What's the difference between a lo-fi and a hi-fi question in, say, a business context?
Sure. A low-fidelity question, the kind an LLM might generate, could be. What are the biggest risks associated with a new product launch? It's generic.
Okay.
A high-fidelity question, the kind only an experienced industry veteran would ask, might be something like, given our current supply chain reliance on a single Taiwanese fab and recent geopolitical instability, what is the single non-obvious metric outside of cash flow we should monitor to forecast a material supply disruption in Q3?
Whoa. And that's not even the whole question.
No, it would continue. And what operational contingency must be pre-authorized today?
That is a massive difference. The second question presupposes decades of knowledge about supply chains, political risk, financial metrics, everything.
It does. And when an expert poses that second question, they're essentially providing a highly structured roadmap for advanced reasoning. They're showing the AI, and by extension the learner, which variables matter most.
Which connections to make, where the blind spots are.
Exactly. The quality of the question acts as the ultimate filter, ensuring the AI-generated explanation stays on the most productive track. The expert isn't dictating the final answer. They're curating the mental model that the AI then has to adopt.
It becomes codified intuition.
That's the perfect term for it.
Okay, here's where the movement steps out of the purely intellectual sphere and gets into psychology and branding, the logic of icons. The material details this promise that contributor insights are integrated into their library, standing alongside the logic of icons like Oprah Winfrey and Steve Jobs.
And that association is highly, highly strategic. It bypasses conventional credibility challenges by linking this niche, specialized expertise to globally validated universal success patterns. It's a very powerful positioning strategy.
I really want to explore the sheer psychological power of that, of having your unique expertise validated against globally recognized leaders like that. For an expert, this isn't just joining some platform. It feels like cementing a legacy.
It's about transferring success archetypes. Oprah Winfrey and Steve Jobs, they're not just famous or rich. They represent highly codified, reproducible methodologies for achieving massive impact.
Right. Jobs is about radical product design, disruption, ruthless prioritization.
And Oprah is about unparalleled communication, empathetic leadership, cultural influence. So by placing a contributor's specialized expert DNA alongside their logic, the system is implicitly claiming that the contributor's unique insight operates at that same foundational level.
That same level of replicable success. So it suggests that my expertise in, municipal bond trading contains a principle that's as universally applicable as Oprah's communication strategy. It elevates the contribution from just sharing data to, philosophical alignment.
Exactly. It validates the contributor's unique approach as being globally significant. But this association also implies something really crucial about the type of wisdom they're looking for. It is fundamentally success-oriented reasoning. The AI isn't necessarily seeking abstract academic theory or, universal sociological truths. It's seeking patterns and principles that lead to tangible, measurable, high-level success.
Whether that's in business, communication, or, as we're going to see, even personal optimization.
Right.
Wait, I have to jump in here with just a note of skepticism. This is where the marketing polish feels a little heavy.
Okay.
Are we really supposed to believe that the lessons learned from, say, running a complex logistics operation are truly on the same plane as the insights that led to the iPhone? Or establishing a global media empire?
That's a fair challenge.
Yeah.
And the authors of this material would argue, I think, that the principles are the same, just at a different scale.
How so?
They would argue that the difference between success and failure in logistics often boils down to the same principles Jobs used. Radical simplification, anticipating bottlenecks, understanding the human interface.
So the core methodology, the DNA, is interchangeable.
That's the argument. This association is a powerful signal intended to appeal directly to the professional expert. Contribute your best thinking. And we will place it within this pantheon of proven universal success methodologies.
It makes the act of contribution and investment in your own intellectual brand.
The ultimate form of professional positioning. You're not just an expert, you're a potential icon.
Which leads us straight into the offer structure, right?
Yeah.
How do they actually plan to harvest this expert DNA?
Exactly.
So if the prize is being recognized as an intellectual architect alongside these icons, how does someone actually join? The material makes a very direct, proactive invitation to become a foundational architect of this new kind of intelligence.
A call to arms.
It is a call to arms for intellectual leadership, not just a passive data upload.
And the focus is entirely on that proactive, high-signal contribution. The expert is invited to join free weekly sessions, specifically the AI Bloomers Networking Bootcamp and the SeniorAIPodcast.com recording sessions.
And the language is so important. They're not called data collection meetings or survey groups.
No, they're branded as professional enrichment opportunities. By attending, the expert is consciously moving from being a passive consumer of AI output to being an active designer of enhanced intelligence.
And that call to think and grow enriched with the community, that reinforces that this is a collective project.
Absolutely.
The enrichment isn't just from the AI amplifying your wisdom, it's from the network of other contributors who are also positioning themselves as, logical icons in their own fields.
Exactly. You're entering a highly curated, high-signal environment. By contributing your expertise, you're automatically engaging with other people who share that same intense commitment to operationalizing wisdom.
Which maximizes the chance of those spontaneous high-fidelity questions arising.
Right. Not from a script, but from real-time discussion and debate among peers. The network itself becomes a critical engine for extracting that expert DNA.
Let's break down why these two specific vehicles, a networking bootcamp and a podcast, are the chosen methods for harvesting this stuff, rather than, say, a formal dry document submission.
It's a very deliberate piece of architectural design. It's aimed at capturing authentic expertise under pressure and in context.
Oh.
A formal submission gives you polished, prepackaged answers. But expertise often resides in the spontaneity, in the articulation of a complex idea when you're challenged on it.
Right. In a networking bootcamp, you're forced to articulate your value prop, solve problems for others in real time, engage in impromptu discussions.
Which is key. This forces the articulation of what we call tacit knowledge, that deep, intuitive stuff that you can't just write down easily.
Mm-hmm.
When an expert explains their approach to a peer or a potential client in a dynamic setting, they reveal the how. The decision criteria, the prioritization, the expert DNA, much more vividly than they ever would in some static essay. They're thinking aloud.
Which is exactly what the AI needs to capture.
Yeah.
And the podcast sessions, they add that crucial layer of performance and, audience awareness.
A podcast recording introduces public accountability. The expert knows their words are being captured for potential wide distribution, which encourages maximum clarity, punchiness, and the highest level of distillation.
It's like an instant editor. It minimizes filler and maximizes that high signal output.
And the typical format of a discussion or an interview naturally leads to the spontaneous generation of those high-fidelity questions we talked about. The host or other experts are challenging and building on each other's points in real time.
So the AI is being trained not just on facts, but on the rhythm, the context, the whole structure of how an expert talks under social and professional scrutiny.
The data set is just so much richer. Is the difference between reading a meticulously crafted historical account and, being present during the original spirited debate.
Precisely. And the experts aren't doing this for free, right? Or just for the good of humanity. The material is very clear about the tangible benefits, the gain.
Right, the rewards.
The sources list world-class visibility and professional PR. These are just incidental perks, are they?
No, not at all. These are strategic, core business drivers in the knowledge economy. Visibility is currency.
So by participating in a structure that's explicitly designed to codify and amplify their expertise, the professional gains massive leverage.
World-class visibility means their unique insights aren't just archived in some private database. They're actively integrated into a cutting-edge AI product. Their name and their logic are referenced in a high-tech, high-status context.
And the professional PR, that's the ability to market yourself not just as a successful practitioner, but as a thought leader who is quite literally shaping the infrastructure of future reasoning.
That is the strategic value that truly makes this unique. Being able to state credibly that your expert DNA is actively shaping the intelligence used by other high-level professionals. That's an unparalleled differentiator.
It's an instant credibility boost. It elevates you above competitors who are just using AI tools.
Because the Reasonology contributor is actively teaching the AI tools. It turns the active contribution itself into a high-value marketing asset. It lets them demonstrate thought leadership rather than just claiming it.
Okay, but let me challenge the core ethical principle they cite here. There is no risk. There's only giver's gain. That zero-risk framing feels optimistic.
You'd be a little naive, you're thinking.
Yeah, in a competitive marketplace. Giver's gain works beautifully in closed networking groups where the shared knowledge benefits everyone in that room. But if this expert DNA is being codified, systematized, and widely distributed through an app, isn't there a fundamental risk that the contributors are building a better competitor for themselves?
You mean by democratizing their hard-won, unique knowledge?
Exactly.
That is the central tension. And the authors anticipate it by leaning so heavily on that giver's gain philosophy, which was popularized in some very successful professional circles. That philosophy dictates that those who give generously to the community will ultimately receive exponentially more in return because generosity establishes leadership and trust. They're trying to establish a culture of abundance, not transactional scarcity.
But strategically, how do they overcome that natural reluctance an expert has to share their secret sauce?
They argue that the true value of the expert is not in hoarding the information, but in their capacity to articulate it, apply it, and refine it. The moment an expert codifies their DNA, they solidify their status as the originator.
And the gain, the legacy, the PR, the network access is non-zero sum?
Exactly. And the AI can only amplify the DNA. It can't replicate the expert's personality, their context-specific judgment, or their ability to generate the next high-fidelity question. The expert remains irreplaceable at the top of that intellectual pyramid.
So the assertion there is no risk is actually a psychological tool.
I think so.
It reassures the expert that what they might lose in proprietary knowledge, they gain exponentially in amplified brand authority and intellectual legacy. It's a self-selecting mechanism.
It is. It attracts experts who believe their true value is in application and refinement, and they amplify their own reputation through the act of giving. It creates a virtuous cycle where contribution equals enrichment.
A high-level intellectual mutual fund.
That's a great way to put it. This whole structure of value, in turn, leads us to the concrete process. How is this high-value, spontaneous expert DNA actually translated into the simple, actionable intelligence that the end user, the learner, needs?
Right. This is where we really get into the engineering of thought. The source material provides 3 specific notebook LM prompts that they use to structure and distill all this wisdom from the interviews and boot camps.
And this is key.
For our listener who wants to know how the sausage is made, how complex human intuition is turned into a practical tool, this section is everything.
This is where the philosophy meets rigorous execution. These prompts are, well, they're highly constrained design tools. They force the raw, nuanced interview data, that complex expert DNA, to be packaged into specific, digestible, and crucially immediately actionable formats.
We're seeing how they ensure that the wisdom is accessible no matter what the listener's starting level is.
Exactly.
Okay, let's start with prompt 1, the lively 8th grade overview. The AI is instructed to act as a friendly, energetic teacher talking to an 8th grade classroom to explain the big idea. Why that specific persona and audience? Why not a college freshman or a general business audience?
The 8th grade audience is chosen specifically because it serves as the ultimate filter for universal understanding. This constraint is designed to fight what we call the curse of knowledge.
Right, where experts can't explain complex topics simply because they've forgotten what it's like not to know.
Exactly. If you could explain the core philosophy of complex AI fusion to a 13 or 14-year-old in a lively, energetic manner, you have successfully eliminated all the unnecessary jargon, the technical complexity, and any assumed knowledge.
So it's a test of conceptual purity. And the friendly teacher persona ensures the tone is welcoming, non-threatening, maximizing absorption for the end user, whoever they are.
It ensures the wisdom is codified in an accessible way. If the expert DNA can't be distilled to that level, if it requires advanced degrees just to grasp the concept, then it isn't really ready to be codified as universal reasonology.
And the constraint on the content is crucial. Focus entirely on why human wisdom is the secret sauce, and don't talk about code or math.
Right. And that constraint reinforces the core premise of the entire movement, that the ultimate value lies in the human contribution to sophisticated thinking, not the machine's calculation.
The learner gets a user-centric perspective.
The output has to explain the utility of the AI by emphasizing the quality of its human inputs, the distilled logic of the smartest people in the room. The machine is just the amplifier. The human wisdom is the entire message.
Now, here is maybe the most unique aspect of this prompt. The ultimate measure of success for this translated knowledge is its application to improve life and love. That is a profound pairing, high-tech AI concepts linked to these universal, deeply personal challenges.
This is the ideological bridge that makes the whole system relevant to the whole human. The Reasonology project is explicitly not just interested in quarterly business metrics. It's interested in holistic success.
So by demanding that the ultimate output be relatable to life and love, the methodology ensures that the expert wisdom, often gleaned from decades of high-stakes business decisions, is translated into universally applicable principles.
Yes, behavioral and strategic principles.
Okay, give us a hypothetical example of that translation. How does a principle from high finance suddenly apply to my relationship with my partner?
Okay, let's take a concept like iterative prototyping from tech, or maybe the sunk cost fallacy from finance.
The sunk cost fallacy, good one.
An expert might discuss how critical it is in business to abandon a project quickly once its failure is proven, regardless of how much time or money you've already invested. The Reasonology engine has to translate that to life and love.
So what would that sound like?
The output might explain something like, if you're trapped in a disagreement or a habit that is consistently making you unhappy in a relationship, the wisdom of the sunk cost fallacy suggests that the effort you have already invested should not determine whether you continue to invest more in a clearly failing approach. You need to prototype a new way of communicating.
Wow, that makes the whole concept of expert DNA fungible, you know? It confirms the reason for building this intelligence is ultimately human betterment in all spheres, not just economic success.
It creates a mandate for practical, holistic application. It ensures the expert wisdom transcends its specific industry boundaries.
Okay, let's move to prompt 2. This one is explicitly designed for persuasion and recruitment.
Right.
It asks the AI to write a fun, persuasive letter to a professional expert using the tone of a 14-year-old explaining to their parents why a new club is the coolest thing ever.
This rhetorical choice is just brilliant for recruitment.
Yeah.
A 14-year-old's tone is simple, it's enthusiastic, it often uses genuine hyperbole, and it just conveys pure, unadulterated excitement.
And that simple, enthusiastic tone cuts right through the typical corporate complexity and, the intellectual posturing that often surrounds these high-level professional offers.
It strips away all the pretense. And it sells the core value proposition, the giver's gain offer, the PR value, with this infectious, unpretentious clarity.
You're appealing to the expert's fundamental desire for accelerated professional growth, but you're using a voice that sounds nothing like a corporate brochure.
And notice the message must always validate the core premise. The letter has to emphasize that the expert's brain is more valuable than any machine.
Right, so it reinforces the philosophical anchor, even during the hard sell.
It manages to be persuasive while staying philosophically consistent. It reassures the potential contributor that they are not being replaced by the machine they are helping to build. It's an emotional sell based on intellectual ego. You're thinking, is the scarce, irreplaceable resource.
And the specific framing of their podcast participation as a cheat code for the expert's career. That phrasing speaks directly to our listeners' desire for accelerated success.
Cheat code implies rapid, disproportionate professional acceleration. It's a shortcut based on insider knowledge or system optimization.
So by framing it that way, the offer emphasizes that the visibility and PR gained are far out of proportion to the time investment.
Exactly. It positions the contribution not as effort, but as maximum leverage. For an expert who is already successful but looking to rapidly distinguish themselves in a crowded market, the idea of having their expert DNA instantly amplified, codified, and validated alongside iconic figures is, well, it's a powerful strategic cheat code for their career growth.
Okay, finally we get to prompt 3, the Reasonology Study Guide. This prompt is all about immediate application. The goal is to generate a cheat sheet for a student, emphasizing simplicity, punchiness, liveliness.
This is the moment.
This is where all that accrued expert wisdom gets packaged for the ultimate learner, the listener who wants quick, high-impact knowledge.
This is the ultimate outcome for practical utility. If the 8th grade prompt ensures conceptual clarity, this prompt ensures immediate frontline applicability.
A cheat sheet is inherently structured for rapid review and deployment under pressure.
Right. It necessitates distilling these complex expert narratives into crisp, memorable points that you can recall in a crucial moment, whether that's during a tough negotiation or a tense family discussion.
And the output structure is highly specific, listing the top 5 human wisdom lessons found in the interviews. Why the number 5? It seems arbitrary, but I'm guessing it's strategic.
Oh, it's very strategic. The constraint of only listing the top 5 lessons is a mechanism for rigorous prioritization. It's designed to prevent information overload.
Okay.
Cognitive science shows that our working memory manages clusters of 3 to 5 items most effectively. So the AI, which is synthesizing dozens of expert interviews, has to determine the most common, the most profound, and the most actionable pieces of wisdom.
It ensures the output is high signal, not cluttered with niche details. It selects ruthlessly for the foundational principles of success.
The human intelligence provides the volume and the nuance, and the machine intelligence provides the ruthless structure and simplification.
It's the ultimate editor, boiling down 1,000 hours of conversation into 5 punchy tenets.
Exactly.
And here is the most rigorous application requirement, the one that ties it all back to that core philosophy. For each lesson, the explanation must show how a person can use it today to improve a relationship or a business deal.
Dual purpose. Immediately.
It has to be.
And this confirms that the underlying philosophy of connecting business success to life and love is executed in every single piece of content.
Yeah.
The wisdom must be fungible. It has to transfer seamlessly between the professional and personal domain.
Let's do another example. An expert might discuss the importance of, say, clarity of intent in a high-stakes business negotiation.
Okay, ensuring both parties know the non-negotiable bottom line.
So the application section for that lesson has to show how that improves a relationship or a business deal.
Right. So for the business deal, it might be something like, use clarity of intent to define the minimum acceptable valuation before you even enter the room to stop any emotional overcommitment.
And for the relationship?
For the relationship, it might be, use clarity of intent to explicitly state the emotional outcome you are seeking before you start a sensitive conversation, ensuring the discussion focuses on resolution, not on blame.
That is really powerful. If an expert lesson on negotiation strategy can't be reframed to improving communication with the spouse, it fails the reasonology test of universal actionable wisdom.
The entire methodology, from the high-fidelity question to the final cheat sheet, is geared toward producing knowledge that is immediately applicable across the entirety of the human experience.
It is success engineering for the whole human.
It creates that powerful feedback loop. The expert gives their professional wisdom, the AI rigorously translates it into universal life advice, and the learner gains actionable insight for their entire life. It validates the premise that true expertise transcends industry boundaries if you distill it properly.
Okay, let's synthesize this. Let's wrap up this deep dive into the expert-enriched intelligence movement. We started with that foundational choice, replacement or amplification.
And AI Reasonology firmly chooses amplification. It positions the expert not as a source of data to be exploited, but as the foundational architect of enhanced machine reasoning.
So first, the core mechanism. AI Reasonology is an amplification tool. It uses high-fidelity human questions as the primary way to get structure and clarity.
Right. And this process codifies the expert's unique intellectual framework, their expert DNA, which is then strategically validated by placing it alongside the logic of success icons like Oprah and Steve Jobs.
Second, the incentive structure. It's built on the rigorous application of that giver's gain philosophy. Contributing experts get world-class visibility, professional PR, a strategic cheat code for their career.
By proving that their unique knowledge is valuable enough to actively shape the future of machine reasoning, the contribution itself becomes a high-value, marketable commodity. It bolsters their intellectual legacy.
And third, the methodology ensures wisdom is immediately actionable. Through those highly constrained prompts like the 8th grade overview and the study guide requirement to apply every lesson to a relationship or a business deal.
The process guarantees that profound expert knowledge is translated into simple, memorable, and dual-purpose cheat sheets. They're designed for immediate deployment in both your personal and professional life.
It's a compelling, meticulously engineered model. It's focused entirely on maximizing the utility and the marketability of specialized human thought in the age of generative AI.
Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought for you to consider based on the material's ultimate ambition.
Okay.
The source material emphasizes capturing the precise logic of the smartest people in the room, lessons distilled from high-stakes decisions and professional achievement, and then applying those to improve the personal realms of life and love.
We've seen how rigorous that translation process is, but the fundamental question remains. What happens when those high-level, success-driven lessons, the ones designed for boardrooms, mergers, competitive markets, are applied universally and maybe a little too literally to the deeply personal issues of life and love?
Does this highly codified, success-driven expert DNA successfully simplify the universal human experience, offering clarity and structure to what are fundamentally irrational or emotional challenges?
Or the other side of it?
Or conversely, does applying the logic of negotiation strategies, risk management, and the sunk cost fallacy to personal relationships risk, well, fundamentally overcomplicating or misunderstanding the nuance, the inherent irrationality, and the context that define true, messy human connection?
You're encouraged to explore that tension. Think about how the rules of success you apply every day might need to be radically softened or recontextualized when applied to matters of the heart. If you're building a smarter life, you need to know exactly where the rules of the game end and where the rules of the heart begin.
That's the deep dive. Until next time.
Well, folks, you've just heard a deep dive into the collective logic of the greats, the kind of high-fidelity reasoning that changes lives. But don't let the conversation end here. Your wisdom is meant to be shared and scaled. It's time to move from listening to leading. Join us each Friday for the AI Bloomers Networking Bootcamp. It's your chance to contribute your own expertise, ask your toughest questions, and help us build the future of reasonology together. It's the sociology of AI. The bootcamp is free, 100% free. The community is world-class, and the ongoing opportunity is yours. Head over to SeniorAIPodcast.com right now and grab the drop-in link. Let's think and grow enriched together. I'll see you at the boot camp. Today's podcast is exciting. You just have to understand why. When you learn AI reasonology to gain, get this, AI reason ability in your life, in your love, and in your community. Hi, I'm Mike Hayes. For decades, I've sat across icons like Oprah Winfrey, Steve Jobs, to capture the high-fidelity logic of their success. Today, we are just archiving that kind of wisdom. We're actually supercharging it. You're going to learn how. So welcome to the SeniorAIPodcast.com. Here, we don't ask you to code. We don't ask you to engineer complex, scary prompts. We only ask you to do one simple thing. Think and grow enriched. We're bridging the gap between world-class human expertise and the nuclear power of ExpertEnrichedAI. Think about that. So whether you're a leader looking to scale your legacy or a learner ready to thrive, our weekly free AI Bloomer Networking Bootcamps is your gateway to learning. Join us as we connect experts to the $73 trillion senior market. Seniors control over 70%, about 70% of the U.S. economy. Think about that. So many technologists are just sitting on the sidelines, focusing and missing on AI and missing that entire market. So join us, Senior AI Podcast listening at any age, to start your enrichment today. Because the future isn't just automated, it's expert enriched when it becomes AI podcast listening to experts and explainers. Let's go. Listen to my AI co